One of the most important things about any sort of guitar modeling hardware or software is how those amp models feel under the fingers. Do they behave? Do they act like a real tube amp would? Now, the topic of feel when talking about playing a tube amp is one that gets defined different depending on who you talk to. What I think of when I think of how an amp model feels or a real amp feels is how it responds to my playing touch. If I hit the strings softly, does it respond different? Do I get a different saturation and breakup depending on how hard I hit the strings? If I turn my volume control down on my guitar, does the amp model behave properly? Just like the real amp would. So that's my definition of how an amp model is going to feel. Others might define it differently. But for today's discussion, we are going to be talking about it from those terms I just talked about. Does a Tonex tone model behave the same as the real amp when we, for instance, turn our guitar volume down? Well, if it does do that properly, then it would very likely respond to our picking touch as well, and therefore have a feel extremely similar or exactly the same as the real amp. So this is not something I've seen anybody really test yet. Most of the A/B tests that folks have done with Tonex versus an amp is they might take a really distorted tone and they record the amp or reamp something through the amp. I've done this myself, reamp a track through the amp, then compare it to the tone model we captured, and it's uncanny how similar the two sounds actually are. Pretty much indistinguishable, which is a real tip of the hat to the folks at IK Multimedia and the whole Tonex platform. But I haven't seen anybody test and compare exactly how the two would match up, the tone model versus the real amp. If we were to dial our volume control to various settings on our guitar, let's see if Tonex actually behaves like the real amp would in that situation. I've done just that today, and I think that this is going to be a very interesting comparison to see if anybody can really tell the difference when we've rolled our guitar volume back. So as I said, if it's going to react that when we roll our guitar volume back, it's very likely going to react the same way when we pick lightly as well, which is where we get the response from that tone model. So what I've done here is I have taken my incredible Marshall Silver Jubilee 2555X amplifier, and I've recorded a guitar DI track of a little guitar riff of me playing my Gibson SG with the volume on 3. I played the same riff again with the volume on 6, the guitar volume on 6, and then I played another with the guitar volume on 10. Same riff. I mean, obviously, the three have to be different performances. That's not the point, because I've captured the DI track, and then I've taken that DI track and I've reamped them through a specific setting on this amp and a specific signal chain that I then captured a Tonex tone model with. So what this has allowed me to do is I have the real amp recorded with the guitar volume on 3, the real amp recorded with the guitar volume on 6, and the real amp recorded with the guitar volume on 10. Those were recorded via reamp. So I was able to then take the DI and apply the Tonex model to it after so that we could compare the Tonex capture at guitar volume 3, guitar volume 6, and guitar volume 10. And I figure that, you know, most of the time we compare them on guitar volume 10 and we go, yeah, this is great. Everything sounds wonderful. It sounds the same. But now if we roll that guitar volume back to 3 or to 6, is it going to behave and sound the same? So that's what we're going to do today. And what I've done with this test has been very meticulous about it. Like I said, I've captured the tone model exactly as I recorded the real amp reamped. It's the same signal chain, the microphone in precisely the same spot. And I think you're going to be able to tell with how close the guitar volume on 10 tone is. It's just incredible. It's almost indistinguishable. It's an advanced training done on Tonex. So we're going to have that capture, which I can tell you right now is uncannily similar. It's just amazing how close the two are. But then what happens with the real amp being fed with the guitar turned down to 3 and down to 6, and then applying that same thing to Tonex. And I don't know, I listened to this and I think you might be quite surprised at just how incredible this comes out. The other thing I'm going to do today is I'm just going to take you through a very simple new tone model collection I have that is my aged green silver Joob Ultimate collection, which is now available on my website. I'm going to have a link below, and later in the video I'll play you a full demo video of these tone models being used together in a mix. I love this amp, and what I've done different this time, I've captured it before, but I captured it through the Celestion 12-inch Heritage Greenback speaker. It's an aged, they call it an aged Greenback speaker, which is part of my Marshall 1974X amp. And I wanted to try it with this amp because I'm really loving that speaker. And it paired up beautifully. It's a 15 ohm single 12 speaker that just has a beautiful vintage vibe to it. And I've got to say, it really did a great job with the Silver Jubilee. So we're going to take you through those tone models first. I'll have the link below if you want to grab a copy of that from my website. I'll play you a demo video later of all of those tone models being used in the mix. And then we're going to get right to the comparison of listening to a Tonex tone model with the guitar volume rolled back compared to the real amp doing the same thing. So without further ado, let's head over and take a listen to this new tone model collection first. And I'll have the timestamps below if you just want to jump ahead to certain parts of the video. You can go ahead and do that. So let's get right to it. All right, so here we are over in Tonex, and I'm showcasing my, as you can see here, it's the aged green silver Joob clean through OD1, OD2, OD3, OD4, and there's also a push one. So there's 6 tone models in here. The ODs are going to be very subtle differences on this one, and I wanted to just really try to capture different levels of gain, but there's not a massive difference. There's going to be a little bit of a feel difference between them, but I wanted to include them all in there. I think you're going to agree they sound really great. So this is of my Marshall Silver Jubilee 2555X reissue, but I'm recording it through a Celestion G12 M20 Heritage greenback from my Marshall 1974 X handwire combo. So very cool stuff. I really love the way that these compared up. So this is basically what we're going to get with the clean tone on the bridge pickup of the Gibson SG. Move to the neck pickup. Really digging these tones. Moving on to the next level of gain, the push one. Back on the bridge pickup here. Neck pickup. So loving that. Moving on to OD1. Neck pickup. Really digging that. Now, like I said, OD2 is just going to be a very subtle increase in the amount of gain. Subtle voicing difference as well. Neck pickup. OD3, again, a subtle increase in gain and voicing here. Neck pickup. It's a beautiful pairing with the speaker. And then finally, the full all-out, full level of gain here, OD4. Neck pickup. Let's take a quick listen to those with some single coil pickups. Here I am now with my Sir Classic T back on the clean tone. We'll start on the bridge pick, or on the neck pickup, sorry. Bridge pickup. Moving on to push 1. Neck pickup. Really nice stuff. OD1. Go to OD2. Neck pickup. Beautiful stuff. OD3, bridge pickup. Finally, OD4. So there you have it. Those are the tones. Later at the end of this video, I will take you out with the full-blown demo, audio, video demo of utilizing all these tone models together in a full production. So you can hear what they sound like with the rhythm section and combined together. But now on to the real purpose of this video, which is to see just how much Tonex behaves like a real amp. I hope you enjoy. All right, so here we are over in Cubase. And what you'll see here, just a quick explanation, is I have basically 6 tracks set up. I have guitar volume 10, real amp, guitar volume 10, Tonex. Guitar volume 6, real amp, guitar volume 6, Tonex. Guitar volume 3, real amp, guitar volume 3, Tonex. And what we'll do is we'll listen to the guitar volume 10 real amp. This is kind of how most comparisons would normally be done when folks are doing this, right? Guitar on 10, hammering away on it, and see if it sounds the same as the amp in that same format. Now, what you'll see down here is I've volume matched on the output, so nothing hitting the input different, but the Tonex tone models I had to bring up somewhere around 2 to 2.5 dB just to match the exact volume that I had on the real amp. So here is the little guitar riff that I played. This is the real amp, the same performance, so this DI performance. You'll actually see it here. Guitar volume on 10, you'll see the waveform. Guitar volume on 3, you can barely see it because it's just so tiny, right? Which is as it should be. Because with the guitar volume on 3, we're really hitting with very little signal. And then guitar volume on 6, a little bit bigger waveform here, a little more output than guitar volume on 3. So basically that's what we have. These are the DIs I use to reamp. So the Tonex down here is being hit with the exact same signal, exact same performance as its counterpart that we're going to be comparing it to. So you'll see here that I've created this little tone model right here. I just called it Amp Test Drive. It's a Silver Jubilee. There's nothing else being done to it. It's just the cab as it was captured and the amp as it was captured. And that's going to be on all 3 of these. The only difference that you're going to be hearing is simply just that the guitar volume was rolled back, both when it was being reamped to hit the real amp and when it's hitting Tonex. So this is going to give us an accurate representation. Everything's volume matched as close as possible. It's going to give us an accurate representation to hear just how well Tonex actually handles this idea of hitting the strings later or rolling your guitar volume back. So here's the real amp. Compare that to the Tonex tone model. far as I'm concerned, completely indistinguishable from one another. We could do what I do oftentimes here, shorten this up to just a couple chords. And I think you'll agree with me that that sounds just uncannily close. So that's where most tests are done, right? Guitar volume on 10, we go, yes, the real amp sounds like Tonex, wonderful. But now when we start rolling this guitar volume back, what happens? Well, if I roll the guitar volume back to about 6, here's what you're going to hear, the real amp. Kind of what you would expect. Let's compare that to the real amp with the guitar volume on 10. So it's exactly what we would expect. The real amp on with the guitar volume on 10 is getting hit really hard in the front, more saturation, but it starts cleaning up as we roll that guitar volume back. Well, now let's listen to how the guitar volume on 6 reacts with the Tonex tone model and if it sounds the same. So here's the guitar volume on 6 with the real amp. And here it is through the Tonex tone model capture. Again, if we shorten this to just a much shorter number of chord hits here, just so we can really focus on what's happening. Unbelievable, incredible how close it sounds, even when we start rolling that guitar volume back. No matter where we listen throughout, it really has an uncannily close amount of time, meaning that the Tonex tone model is reacting in a very real world way, much like the real amp would. And that's what the tone modeling process is supposed to do. It's supposed to grab samples of this at various, shall we say, dynamic levels so that it knows how that amp reacts. And I think we can see here that it's doing an amazing job. Well, let's see what happens when we go all the way down to the real amp with the guitar volume on 3. So this is what that sounds like. Here's the real amp. As we would expect, much less overdrive. Let's compare that to the real guitar amp with the guitar volume on 10. So as we can see, we have 3 really different levels of overdrive based off of where our guitar volume was. We have the 3, very low overdrive, a little more with 6, and then all out with 10. So this is going to be a real test for Tonex to see how accurate it can go when we can bring that guitar volume all the way down, from this sound to this sound. Can Tonex capture the nuance of that sound? Well, let's check it out. Here's the Tonex version. Truly spectacular. Again, if we shorten this up to just a couple chord hits. Amazing. Really, really incredible. Almost indistinguishable, even when we are rolling that guitar volume back to clean things up. So I really think that this does show that Tonex is just doing a completely incredible job at capturing the true feel and behavior of that amp Does it clean up when we roll our guitar volume back? Absolutely it does. Does it clean up in a realistic way? Absolutely it does. Is it going to react to our playing style and how hard we hit the strings and how soft we hit the strings? Well, of course it is. So we can now feel very confident that this is working as it should, and it's going to give us a very realistic experience when utilizing Tonex. All right, so there you have it. What do you guys think? I was absolutely blown away by how incredibly accurate Tonex is. Again, keep in mind, this is Tonex capturing everything about this amp, not just the full-blown guitar on 10 kind of thing. It's really modeled the dynamics and the proper reaction that this real amp has, or these real amps have, to our guitar volume being rolled down. Really, really incredible stuff. I was really, really incredibly surprised at just how accurate it was. And I think that this gives us some peace of mind knowing that not only do we have a great sounding tone model when we're playing all out, but if we are playing more dynamically, hitting the strings lighter, or rolling our guitar volume back, the tone model is going to act in a very accurate manner to the real thing. So very cool stuff. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it and give you some peace of mind when you're using your Tonex tone models. I have heard some people say that, oh, Tonex doesn't react like a real amp. And hopefully this will help put that to bed. So thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Again, please like the video, share it with anybody you think would get some use or enjoyment out of watching it. Also, please subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I'll be back really soon with some more. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in. Ciao for now.